that term went all over the world. That kind of cinema is now, that kind of filmmaking style is now default. It's what everybody thinks documentary film is. Show you these long shots of what people are doing. But I think if you ask me why is Dziga Vertov still important, it's because he continues to inspire people, and you can see that inspiration at the time, but you can see it again in the 1960s, and you can see it in the 80s with Martin Scorsese, and you can still see it today because it shocks people into seeing things differently.
How do you think the process of making a documentary has, compared to now and back into the 1960s, how do you think that's changed, really?
So almost everything has changed about the production process, except the fundamental ethical and framing questions. Those remain, and those are probably the ones that really matter. But the advent of first portable video technology and then digital technology created greater and greater and greater access. It lowered the cost and it increased the ease by which people could make video. And really, even only a few years ago, it was a lot harder to edit video than it is today. And then the advent of the internet made it possible to share video extremely cheaply and perfectly in a way that it hadn't been before. In the old days, if you had a video cassette, which was already regarded as just an incredible step forward because it was so portable, you didn't have to go to a theater anymore. You could bring the movies into your home. Every time you copied the video cassette, it degraded the copy. You can make 1 million copies of the same digital file. It's always the same quality. So the lowering of the cost of production and the lowering of the cost of distribution has made it possible for almost anyone to make a documentary. So then the question comes of, what do you want to say and who do you want to say it to? And will you have something that those people value enough to spend what has become the most precious thing in the economy of film, which is viewer time?
And you were talking about the access, and you spoke about the access to video and how it's easier to really produce. Do you think the quality has risen or fallen from this, the more access people have gotten to video?
I think the quality of making video has both risen and fallen. What you can now do with video in terms of bringing people into a scene is absolutely amazing, and it's about to get even more amazing. If you go to an IMAX film, you're watching an experience that is extremely immersive. But Oculus Rift, which is a virtual reality immersion technology that puts everything in virtual reality up until the present just in the shade, that will fundamentally transform the experience, because Oculus gives you the impression not that you're watching something at all. You actually think that you're there. So amazing, amazing. And when you see IMAX films, you see an extraordinary quality. And IMAX films are also magnificently expensive. They cost millions of dollars to make. At the same time, you can watch middle-range work that is done in a sophisticated way, but not in a way that that requires a huge amount of technology that you can watch online. I'll give you an example. There's a video webisode series called Black Folk Don't. And you can complete the sentence in a variety of webisodes. Black folk don't do yoga. Black folk don't ski. And you can watch a bunch of interviews with black people who either ski or don't ski, or do yoga or don't yoga. And you can see the range of black experience in America and how different black people can be, which might come as news to some people and might not come as news to others. And it's also funny. And it's it's really, it's a series I strongly recommend to people because I think it's a really good example of well done, well conceptualized webisodes that don't web video that doesn't require a massive amount of skill or money. And then you can see things that are really unbelievably crappy, but people don't care that they're crappy because it's so important to them that they see it. Now that could be somebody's birthday party. And you know, the 10 people who really wanted to see that person blow out his candles really didn't care if it was really in focus or not, or had good lighting. Or it might be because you're watching a scene from Syria and it's going to show whether or not there was a government attack on a particular area. And it'll be hard to watch in crappy video and somebody filmed it with their phone while they were running, but it will still be really important data. So really terrible quality, still very important to some people. So that's why I say it has had both effects. One of the things that people talk a lot about in the business of making video now is what's happening to that middle range, middle quality stuff that used to be very hard to do, very expensive to do, require a lot of skill, but now really doesn't. And how do you attract people to that? And is it even worthwhile to make that now?
We think, and we have researched that a good documentary really requires a lot of editing. What is your approach to the editing process?
Fortunately, I don't make films because I think it's hard to make films. And I do something a lot easier, which is I study them, I watch them, I critique them, and I write about them. But I do think that the editors often are the people who should get the directing credit. I think they are often the people who make the story. And if it's one skill that, I think there are two skills that are seriously under taught in documentary. And they are script writing, because the scripting is actually really important in documentary. You need to know how you want to put those pieces together. And second is editing. And editing is a very it is a highly valued skill, and it's actually difficult and requires a lot of practice. It's a lot of the same issues to edit a film as to edit text. You're looking for reinforcing structure, you're looking for pacing, you're looking for cutting every last thing that doesn't need to be there. But in film, you're also looking at how to do that around all of the expectable problems you had in production, and in which, for instance, you might have not gotten the establishing shot that you wanted, and now you're going to have to figure out how to cut without it. And you also have the additional but wonderful complication of figuring out how you will use background sound, sound effects, and soundtrack to amplify and reinforce your meaning.
What do you think is one of the best documentaries you've ever seen, and why is it?
Great question. I see documentaries that I love all the time. There's a documentary that I saw in recent years that I really like, and I like to recommend it to others because I think it's a film that a lot of different kinds of people can watch, including different generations in the same family, and they could all like it. It's called Shut Up and Sing. And Shut Up and Sing is about the Dixie Chicks. And the Dixie Chicks in 2003 were a country band, and they sang in London on the day that the US invaded Iraq. And the London audience was extremely hostile to the idea of invading Iraq. The British government had supported that, but many people in Britain did not support that. And on stage they said, and they're from Texas, on stage they said, we'd just like to say that we're really embarrassed that George Bush is from Texas. And the audience loved that. But the people in country music in the United States did not love that. And there was a lot of resistance to them. And then one of the country music radio stations, which is absolutely crucial to the future of any country song, that chain of radio stations, which is called Cumulus, banned the Dixie Chicks from their stations. So their stations could not play Dixie Chicks, and that actually made it impossible for them to sell their album. And it ruined their career as country music singers. So this film was made by Barbara Koppel, who is a wonderful cinema verite filmmaker. And she was making a film with them. This stuff erupted, and she followed them over the course of the next year and a half. And so she was inside the backstage room where just after this happened, getting comments from them. She was with them when they finally realized how this was had destroyed their careers. And then she was with them when they rebuilt their careers around the experience of going through that, and launched a new album. In the process of that happening, the women who made up the Dixie Chicks went themselves through a transformation, and they had been thinking of themselves